Hey everyone. So when I posted a blog on Monday criticizing Hillary for her silence on the email controversy and urging her to get in front of the press, I thought that would be my last word about Hillary for this week. But yesterday, she actually did get in front of the press. And it turned out to be one of those beware of what you wish for episodes in life. I cringed through every moment of her press conference. In fact, I hated it so much that I thought I would post another blog today listing the reasons why I hated Hillary's press conference. The first thing I hated was that after 8 days of controversy, Hillary suddenly gave reporters 2 hours of notice that she would be giving a press conference at 1:30 in the afternoon, causing everyone to scramble rather than doing it in an orderly fashion where we could have anticipated it. Second of all, I hated the fact that she chose the United Nations as the site. The United Nations is harder to get into and has better security than Fort Knox. So what happened was there was a line halfway around the block of journalists desperately trying to get press credentials to get into the building. I'm not sure that all of them did. It was kind of a passive-aggressive way of sticking her thumb in the eye of the press. I hated the way that for the first question of the press conference, they chose a Turkish journalist. This was a homegrown controversy about American law and American guidance from the State Department and the White House as to how you should treat email. Some of the best journalists in America were there ready to ask questions. And Hillary chooses a Turkish journalist to lead the questioning, clearly an attempt to start running out the clock. Now, I have nothing against Turkish journalists. I'm sure he was a fine fella, but a completely inappropriate choice for the first questioner of your press conference. Now, to get more substantive about it, I hated Hillary's I didn't want to use two phones, it was inconvenient explanation. And I hated that excuse for 3 reasons. First of all, I remain unconvinced that you couldn't have had a government account and a private account on the same phone. It may be that you can't use an iPhone to use a state.gov domain as well as a clintonemail.com domain. But until I hear an explanation of why that's so, I remain unconvinced. But even if you accept that explanation, she sent a memo out in 2011 telling all State Department workers to make sure that their official email correspondence was on the official system. Well, they would then have to use 2 phones. So apparently she expected everybody else to use 2 phones, but she felt no obligation to do the same. Now, the third and most important reason that I hated that explanation was that a mere 2 weeks ago, Hillary was in Silicon Valley doing a Q&A, and technology columnist Kara Swisher asked Hillary, iPhone or Android? And this is Hillary's answer. There are reasons when you start out in Washington on a BlackBerry. You stay on it in many instances. But it's also, I don't throw anything away. I'm like 2 steps short of a hoarder. So I have an iPad Mini, an iPhone, and a BlackBerry. So 2 weeks ago, Hillary is boasting of all the hardware she's collected. She's got 4 different devices for receiving and sending email. But by the time she confronted the press yesterday, 2 devices were too much for her to handle. Ridiculous. I hated the smug sense of entitlement she had, where she felt put upon by being asked to justify the fact that she had sidestepped government regulations on this issue. I also hated the tendency of questioners to throw 5 different questions at her at the same time, which made it easy for Hillary because she could simply ignore the ones she didn't like and pick and choose the one that was easiest to answer. Along those lines, I hated the fact that she never did answer the question, Did she consult with anybody at State Department before setting up her email system? Did State Department sign off on her arrangement? If so, who? The fact that she never answered that question left the unmistakable inference to be drawn that she had simply gone off on her own and done it without consulting anybody. I hated the fact that she told us multiple times that she had gone above and beyond in her provision of 55,000 documents to the State Department. Above and beyond? Waiting 2 years to give them over? Only when you were asked? Ridiculous. And I hated the fact that the Clintons consistently turn otherwise good people into lackeys and toadies trying to justify Clinton behavior. For example, I have great respect for Jen Psaki, the spokesperson of the State Department, but listening to Jen Psaki try to defend the indefensible yesterday was like listening to Lanny Davis the other day on television. Tortured logic, terrible. Indeed, my biggest takeaway from the press conference was that having Hillary as president would be a nightmare because we would consistently be having press conferences just like this, full of drama, evasion, equivocation. It would be insufferable. As I watched that press conference, I said to myself, in a general election, I would vote for Hillary over any Republican. But in a primary season, I would vote for virtually any Democrat over Hillary Clinton. I think that press conference was kind of a gut check for the Democrats. It's time to start thinking about other candidates other than Hillary Clinton. So along those lines, I have some suggestions. Amy Klobuchar, Senator from Minnesota, it's time for you to think about running. Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire, think about stepping up. Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, yes, I know you replaced Hillary as Senator of New York. I know that you're sort of a Hillary protege, but it's time to come out from the shadows of Hillary Clinton. I don't believe that Hillary would be the best candidate. The person who we never talk about as a presidential candidate, who I'd most like to see running, is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, the senator from Rhode Island. Whitehouse is clearly one of the smartest guys in the Senate, has a great resume as a former U.S. attorney, former Attorney General of Rhode Island. His name alone creates a terrific campaign slogan, White House for President. And with Sheldon Whitehouse, you would never have any birther controversy, since he's descended from William Bradford, the colonial governor of Massachusetts. Mark Warner of Virginia, why not? Why isn't this your time? And then there's the person who I think might be the best politician of them all, but who could never become president in 2016, because there's kind of an unwritten rule in American politics. You can't have two black presidents in a row. And that's Deval Patrick, the governor of Massachusetts. I think he would make a terrific president. However, if he became president, fraternities in Oklahoma, police and government officials in Ferguson, Missouri, judges in Montana, and Tea Party members everywhere would have their heads explode. So I guess that's a non-starter, but I'm putting his name out there. Just saying. So proclaim it from the rooftops. Sing it from the hillside. This is where the ABH movement, anybody but, you get the idea, began. And as an aside, I know many of you are going to start emailing me, telling me, this person sucks, I left out this person, you prefer this person. And I welcome those emails, but I also strongly urge you to post your wisdom on the comments section so that everybody can see who the alternatives to Hillary are in the Democratic Party. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Rowan.